I think sometimes we all feel a bit stuck. I feel there's a reason for that we ourselves can change.
You know what, I actually didn't understand until very recently that secular and non-secular is to do with the senses. Right, so if something is secular, it can be sensed, right, which is kind of non-religious. Non-secular is something that's not for the traditional five senses, which really sums up a lot for those on the philosophical quests. To do is to be, Socrates. To be is to do, Plato. Do-be, do, Sinatra. I think that's some good old Greek philosophy there. Self-control is the chief element in self-respect. Self-respect is the chief element in courage.
What do you think it means to have courage?
It's very close to integrity. Are you authentic? And I think my personal journey has become more and more authentic.
This other poem here is called I Fell. One day I fell off the end of the world, but came back to Earth's sweet land. One day I fell off the end of the world, but no one could understand. I tried to tell them what I saw and how my life had changed, but all they did was stare at me and argued about what I'd claimed. I told them about the chaos clouds and the winds of red and gold. I let them in on silent sounds, and the way they burst so bold. They screamed, they cried, they jumped about. I sat with respect and poise. They argued the toss about black and white, but all I heard was noise. To just convey the things I've seen to help you see them too, the lights, the sounds, the parting gulls, the morning grass and dew, the sun that spoke and the moon that cried, the pull of ancient earth, the draw of flight in summer's gown, the growth of human worth. One day I fell off the end of the world, and I wish I'd not come back. One day I fell off the end of the world, and I cannot rejoin the pack.
I originally grew up with a atheist/Christian on holiday mum and a Muslim father, and I could see the world through both viewpoints, but the two viewpoints weren't agreeing with one another. So I learned very early that we can look at the world in many different ways and look at the same thing in many ways, like that. Is it an allegory, the allegory of the elephant and the blind people? And one of them has the tooth in their hand and one of them has the leg in their hand. Everybody will give a completely different description of what they are holding in their hands, but they're all describing the elephant. I've looked everywhere for the perfect religion. I went to India thinking, oh, the Hindus have got it sussed, and went to Thailand and thought the Buddhists got it sussed, then realized that every religion and every tradition has some sort of gem in it. I found one of my guidances through yoga philosophy, not being untruthful with oneself or others in thought, speech and action. And it is said in the Yoga Sutras that he who speaks the truth in that way, even in their thoughts to themselves, everything they say will become the truth. He who is non-violent in that way, of not thinking violently towards themselves or others, not even in their thoughts, all violence will dissipate from around them. But it's more about how truthful are we with ourselves.
So my name is Ryan Hargreaves. I am a practitioner of the Gelug school of Tibetan Buddhism. I was a Buddhist monk for around 8 years. I've practiced since an early age and also taught Tibetan Buddhism internationally, both to individuals, to communities, and in companies also. Spiritual means, in a very loose sense, it is beyond the things of this life. And actually from sort of a Buddhist perspective, it would be thinking beyond the end of this life. So it's almost like death is the start of spirituality. So once we confront the fact that we will die, the consciousness continues, and we think about consequences beyond just our present life and circumstances, that's where it really becomes spiritual.
Todo lo haces ceremonial, ¿no? Tú toda la vida la puedes hacer ceremonial, ¿sí? Es una ceremonia, yo en particular, desde que busco la madera, ¿sí? Desde que busco la madera o estoy llamándola, estoy pensando en que tiene que aparecer la madera, ¿sí? Tiene que aparecer la madera y pues la encuentro, ¿sí? Por la calle o alguien de pronto regala madera o en una tienda, ¿no? Como sea, pero la madera aparece. Entonces ya ahí hay como una conexión, un llamado a la madera de cualquier forma, ¿no? Y después, pues realmente realizar todo requiere de un proceso, de un proceso mental de creación que sí se vuelve pues de alguna forma, no sé si esta palabra sagrado, ¿no? Se vuelve algo especial, algo muy importante, porque pues vas formándolo, vas dando forma al tambor.
See which one this opens up to, but keep calm and carry on. I used to have this on the cherry stall.
Do you open to this book much?
I did many years ago. Pretty much every day I'd just look through it and see what... Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm.
I went through a very rocky breakup. When that relationship came to an end, I started picking my books up again, my books of philosophy and things like that, classical philosophy, of which I'm a big advocate for, the classical Stoics and the classical Cynics. And I began to understand that there is an ever-pervasive reasoning for everything.
We're not just here for everything to be just working without there being any challenges, because we've also come here with a mission to grow, and you have to grind your teeth on something, I guess. How do you do that grinding teeth? Do you do that by saying, okay, I accept the challenge, I welcome this, I embrace this, and I'm just going to do my best with it? Oh no, life has come to haunt me again. and I'm so small, and am I going to get an oracle to read my future for me, or am I going to get a healer on the outside to do this, to heal these things, or am I going to step up and say, okay, hello, how can we deal with this, and trust that the universe will help you?
The primary focus of Buddhism is working with the mind. So there is a famous quote where it says, all Dharma is condensed into one purpose, which means all Buddha's teachings has one single goal, which is essentially taming and developing the mind. So this is something that, regardless of religion, everybody needs to do to be able to have a happy life, because happiness is an experience of the mind. To be able to avoid suffering. Suffering is an experience of the mind. To be able to be effective in their life. All their cognitive functions are functions of mind. So I think what's beautiful about Buddhism is that it is very universal, in the sense that the teachings on meditation, the teachings on discovering one's own mind, how the mind works, how to avoid suffering, describing our human condition, about being governed by attachment and what that's like, about grasping our identity and what that's like and how we can overcome this. This is really universal, and it really solves our immediate problems, but it also puts us into a pathway where we have a much bigger vision of our life beyond whatever our environmental confines and resources are. Some people are often surprised, I just wear a normal shirt, I wear smart clothes, I don't dress in sort of any hippie or boho style clothing, partly because that doesn't represent my personality, and also it has nothing to do with spirituality.
We are so distracted in the modern world that we're not asking the correct questions. We are so distracted, we are not seeking what we should be looking for. And there are so many doors. Which one do you knock on?
Spirituality, it's not a static thing, it's not just one thing. It has many different branches that come off, come away from the trunk. And each one of those branches is a different expression. Sometimes it's prayer, and in many instances it can manifest as art and poetry.
La realización, la creación es totalmente ceremonial porque requiere de una concentración. 35. Lo saco si quieres. Tamborcito, mientras te armo para el árbol va mi canto. Pielecita, yo te estiro y vuelve, vuelve tu latido. Ya renaces a la vida, danos hoy tu medicina. Weya he hayo, weya he hayo, weya he hayo hum. Weya he hayo, weya he hayo, weya he hayo hum.
And all the help I can get, great. But I'm learning and have learned that I'm often thinking I'm the pilot, but I'm the co-pilot. When I've got a higher consciousness, an expanded consciousness, instead of wrapped up in my own personal needs for food, shelter, intimacy, romance, when those are driving forces, I lose that higher awareness, that consciousness. But it still allows me to co-author. If sharing any experience, strength and hope with you and others is of any use, I'm very grateful. Fear nothing. No thing. How's that?